Hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. We are back today, and I am back. It's been a while, and I'm glad that I'm back. What has it been, like almost a week? I feel like, well, this has been a couple of days, but anyway, we're here to talk about so many new updates from the world of DC. We've got some comments from Tim Burton about, his thoughts on the superhero genre. Where does he feel like he fits into that? Whether he wants to make a return, or if he's kind of like done with it, maybe something along the lines of what Christopher Nolan has said. He's like, I've told those stories, and I'm kind of doing my own thing now. So we're going to talk about that. There's also some updates from James Gunn interacting with the fans, and questions about what kinds of DC moments from the comics they want to replicate in the DCU. We're going to talk about what James Gunn's response to that was, and we'll get into the Absolute Trinity covers, the logos. There's a lot of controversy around the Batman symbol for the Absolute Trinity covers. We're going to get into that, and of course, we are here to talk about Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman, of course, it's not really a news thing, but the whole week we've been talking about, Wonder Woman seems to keep coming up in terms of fan casting somebody for the role, and so we decided today, why not do it? Let's just talk about some ideas, some options. Let's get your input on it, and then we'll see what you guys think about it. We'll see what John has picked out for us, his picks. So to do that and so much more, speaking of which, John, how are you doing today?
I'm ready to talk Wonder Woman, to praise James Gunn, and to shit on Tim Burton. Let's fucking go, guys. I'm ready for more people to get mad at me for my hot takes. So let's fucking go.
Cool. Nice. Well, we got Manolo in the chat already. Hello there, Manolo. Anybody else? If you guys are hanging out in the chat, then drop a hello. Oh, hey Fiona, how are you doing today? And we're gonna wish her a hello or say hi. Say hi. Let us know if you're in the chat. Let's get into it. We're gonna start with the Tim Burton story. So John, Tim Burton recently was being interviewed, I assume, for Beetlejuice.
Yes.
And so this interview is in Variety, and he was asked one of the questions. You know what's interesting though, actually, while we're on, starting to talk about the top subject here. This is on Threads, but the original article is in Variety, and the title of the article basically says on why Batman films have changed and how Beetlejuice saved him from retirement after Dumbo. Which to me, I'm like, you look at that, it's
I will say,
yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't the case. Like, I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. Like, I like some of his movies. But if Dumbo, a Disney live action remake, was his last movie, that would have been really sad. That would have been like John Carpenter doing The Ward levels of bad. And it just would have been like, or like Stanley Kubrick doing Eyes Wide Shut. That would have just been sad. So even though I'm not interested in Beetlejuice, I know a lot of Tim Burton fans are really excited for this. Just kill the fly, hopefully. So I'm glad that he got to do something that was like the character he pretty much like. I know he didn't write the movie, but that's like Beetlejuice is Tim Burton's character technically. So it was nice that he was able to actually, like return to that, do a script he wanted to do, because that's been in like development. That was in development hell for like years. I know they wanted to have like Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, or like for years, and like a whole bunch of ridiculous ideas. So I'm glad that he, got to do a character he liked, he was interested in, and was able to, not have Dumbo be his that would have been so bad. So fucking bad. But way to go, Tim Burton.
I mean, for somebody of Tim Burton's caliber, the last thing you want is for him to go out on Disney's dime doing a live action remake of a classic. And while Dumbo was a good movie, the live action one, it's like the classic is the classic. Like, you don't want to, be like, that was my last movie. You don't want to look back. But anyway, I mean, as far as the point I was trying to make, the title of the article hints at Batman before even Beetlejuice, what they were interviewing him for, which, I guess to me, I was just like, hey, it goes to show you the power of, DC and the character of Batman. Of course, Batman is still to this day the franchise that pretty much, I mean, for even a filmmaker of Tim Burton's caliber, I think his Batman movies are one of the, if not the defining factor of his career. So to that end, I wanted to ask you what you thought about his comments. Like, he said, at this moment, I would say no. Like I said, I come at things from different points of view. So I would never say never to anything. But at the moment, it's not something I'd be interested in. What are your thoughts on, Tim Burton? Well,
Good. Good, glad. You ruined
All right.
Batman before, so let's keep you away from other comic book characters because I don't want to see that again. And if he's not interested, then I'm very happy about that.
Do you think there is any character out there? Like, would you want to see him in the genre? Like, maybe there's another character that might be a better fit for his sensibilities, or do you think that the farther he stays away from the comic book genre as a whole, the better?
Honestly, the only one I could see, the only one off the top of my head, like this just popped in there, would be like the Sandman or something like that. I feel like he would give us something very different from Neil Gaiman's like world, but also kind of like a similar vibe. Because like when he's doing like otherworldly stuff, it's like kind of like intriguing, like kind of what he's doing with the Beetlejuice series and like all that. So it's like okay, like how he does like otherworldly stuff would have been interesting, and I feel like the character Sandman is kind of like that, goth emo kind of dude that like Tim Burton likes to make as every single one of his protagonists. So I think that is a character that I think he could do well, although we have the Netflix series, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, that's like the only character I could think of that like I feel like would get that vibe a bit, like because I mean Henry Selick is kind of very similar to Tim Burton, and he did Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline. Coraline was a Neil Gaiman book, so although they did majorly tone down the stuff from the book, I feel like Neil Gaiman and Tim Burton would kind of go hand in hand. So I would like to, like, if he were to do anything, I don't think he would. I just think he's just totally not interested now. I think the Sandman universe would be kind of intriguing to see from a Tim Burton lens, I think.
I think that's an interesting point because I mean, and obviously, I think your point is well taken that there's, I think right now they're set with what they want to do with Sandman. It's highly unlikely they're going to go to somebody like Tim Burton to give his take on the character. But to me personally, the Tim Burton movies, I have a soft spot for them. I know that you're not a fan of these movies, but like
Mm.
I enjoy the Tim Burton. Let's just say this: the Batman movie from 1989 is still to this day one of those like seminal films for the whole genre that kind of helps establish that hey, this is more than about just selling toys. Now, granted, by the time we got to the
That's what it
90s,
became.
that's what it became. But then, and we had to sort of do a course correction, and and then Marvel burst on the scene with movies like Blade and the X-Men movies, and from there on, we eventually get to the MCU. Meanwhile, DC had to sort of rebuild after almost destroying the Batman IP in the late 90s. But still, like I think that Batman movie, the first 1989 one, regardless of what you think about the 1992 Batman Returns, it's really set the tone for Batman on screen because before that, the last time we had seen Batman was Adam West Batman, which for a lot of people is great. And you know what? So be it. But um, I think the Batman movies that we see today, which is what Tim Burton was, asked about as well, they wouldn't be what they are if Tim Burton hadn't done his iteration of the character, this darker in tone, more serious,
Right.
brooding version of the Dark Knight.
But there is a
Yeah,
con to every pro, I feel. Because I think like he just wiped everything clean from like kind of like what Adam West did. Now nobody can, I feel like, can like do like a comedic Batman properly because Batman Forever like tried to be serious and Warner Brothers was like no, and Joel Schumacher was like all right, I'll relent, and then eventually he did Batman and Robin, which was more like a Batman spoof than anything, whether it be intentional from Joel Schumacher's point of view as kind of a fuck you to Warner Brothers, and then or it was unintentional. Um, yes, that is his next film, apparently. But things get canceled, so who knows? But yes, that he did announce that. But I think, the thing is, I feel like, and rarely do we get like a comedic Batman. I think the only one that's like done it well is Batman Brave and the Bold. And even then, that's kind of given there's a bit of disdain towards that show, I feel, because of going for more of a Silver Age feel. And that's what's like kind of sad because I feel like Batman is just so broad in terms of character, and rarely do we get something outside of like something that's Tim Burton or Tim Burton-esque in terms of the darkness to the character, which I don't mind, but like I feel like there's more than just that, you know? And the fact that like these movies bred a certain type of fan that I just don't really like. And like before there were Snyder cultists, there were Burton cultists, and I will die on that hill as well. So I think that kind of tainted Batman for me a little bit. That's why I kind of grew to be more of a Superman fan. It kind of went towards that character because like Batman fans, they can be really fucking annoying. They can be like just with how much I mean, I understand they love a character. That's fine. It's just like they can get a little bit like a little bit far up their own ass sometimes. But I don't think they're bad or anything like that, with the exception of like extremists. But I do think that kind of tainted me on Batman a little bit. A little bit. I'm kind of going back towards Batman. Mainly because of Batman haters now. So it's like, all right, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I'll even though I don't like Batman fans, I'll gladly like be with them over the Batman haters that like watched 5 minutes of Dark Knight and think they're a Batman expert and like, oh, he just beats up poor people. He doesn't do anything for Gotham. And I'm like, all right, I gotta class some people. I gotta throw them in the dirt because they don't fucking know a shitty about shit. So it's like, all right, I gotta bury these people now. And kind of through that, like unintentionally, I kind of like I'm becoming more of a Batman fan and again, so hopefully I can, get back to my initial love for this character that kind of dropped off majorly. So but yeah, I think Tim Burton, I'm not gonna like, even though I don't like what he did in hindsight because I initially liked the movies, now I don't, but like I'm not gonna argue what he did for the franchise and what he did for the character of Batman.
Yeah.
It's just like I think there's more cons than people will admit. I think that's just there's some flaws in the logic. Like I don't like what he did with Batman as a character and all that. And there's some cons. I don't think it's like this almighty thing. And the way he's like, oh yeah, the word franchise didn't exist. It's like Star Trek, Star Wars, Superman.
Yeah,
All
that's a
three of them
little.
would argue that
Yeah,
those are French.
or
Hell, even
franchises
Jaws.
at the
Jaws
time.
was a franchise.
Yeah,
It's like that's
the
very
fan. Yeah,
short-sighted. But outside of that, I think like I get what he's like saying, but even then it was like I think he means it in more of like a metaphorical sense. Like nobody thought of like I think superheroes as a franchise. That I can kind of see because even the Superman movies, like you didn't really see that as a franchise. Like, I don't know, but like I can kind of understand what he's saying. I don't agree with it because it's like, oh, if it wasn't for what I did, there would be nothing. It's like, all right, just piss on Christopher
look,
Reeve's fucking grave. Why don't you? It's like, all right, come on,
it's
man, really?
but look, like to be. Here's the thing, though. Look, it's if you go back and you look at the impact that Michael Keaton Batman movie did have
Yeah,
in 1989, it was significant, and it was in a way where I would say yes, it was even more elevated than what Christopher Reeve Superman did, and in a way that like that first Batman movie established a superhero blockbuster in a way that even the Superman movie didn't quite do, especially considering like how the sequels went. So and especially by the time you get to the fourth one. And those Batman movies were the epitome of box office success for superhero movies back in the '90s. At a time when Marvel was really not having a ton of success.
no.
Up until the first Blade, and even then Blade was pretty niche. I think it's like until you get to Blade 2, maybe even the first X-Men movie,
I
you
would
don't
say
really
X-Men
see
and Spider-Man were the big ones.
Marvel and
I would
Spider-Man,
like to
especially
say
Spider-Man.
Blade walked
So
so those guys could run, most definitely.
yeah,
But Blade still walked. I'm not going to have any Blade erasure here. I know a lot of people like to do that, but he is Marvel
yeah.
Daddy. Remember that.
Well, we will, by the way, coming up on the show, we will talk about the Wonder Woman fan casting ideas. We have got a few of our own. Of course, Emma Darcy is the one we're going to lead off with. We have got a few others to talk about. And, John has a few picks. I'm sure you guys, the watcher feels very strongly about that one. So we'll get into that. But right now, we're going to switch over and we're going to talk about something else before we dive into Wonder Woman. And that's, of course, James Gunn, the main man himself. He recently was talking to some of the fans on Threads who were asking him, "Hey, like there are some moments in the DC Comics lore that we'd like to see replicated and realized in live action or maybe animation or on DC TV." And James Gunn kind of reposted about that, and he really got into it. I think a pretty wholesome conversation with the fans of DC on Threads. So I figured let's kind of look at that because I think there's some good ideas in here. Obviously, he's talking about some things like Choco's cookies, which these they just look like Oreos, and we have seen, like, I think when we were talking about those behind the scenes photos of Superman filming in Cleveland, we saw that they had like a sign like Metropolis's favorite sandwich cookie, and so we're gonna see Choco's
Yes.
in the movie,
Which
at
is
some
Martian
point somewhere in the
Manhunter's
background.
biggest
Yeah.
weakness next to fire. When it, like, straight up, I believe in the comics in the 2000s they had to have an intervention for Martian Manhunter because he was eating
Yeah, yeah.
so many Choco cookies. And even I
Mm-hmm.
think I think at one point Martian Manhunter died and they left Choco cookies on his coffin, and it was a very like nice moment. But it's like so this gives some precedent a little bit, hopefully, that we will get a Martian Manhunter soon, and not one that I'm sorry, I just can't get behind that design of Harry Lennox. It just looked so bad, and it just looks
It was
so
very. I
gross
thought
looking, and
it just felt very like, yeah, like it just, I don't know. I as much as I love the character Martian Manhunter, I really like the simpler design from the animated series. I just didn't, like you said. I was like, it's over designed. Like it wasn't necessary. So yeah. But I mean, hey, there were some other moments on this chain that I wanted to kind of get into. One of the users, posted like this sequence here from the comics. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it of course includes Guy Gardner's Lantern. You got Blue Beetle in there, Shazam, Batman, um, and a few other characters. It's pretty fun to
yeah,
see,
fucking
these
Batman
characters.
one-shotting Guy Gardner. I pray to God that
Yeah.
I mean, if Guy Gardner doesn't die in Lanterns and we're gonna get an interaction with him and Batman, I wanna fucking see that. I wanna see that James Gunn just him one-shotting fucking Guy. That would just be amazing. Please give us that in live action. That's the one thing we all want to see.
Yep. Yeah. I think these are some really cool, fun moments. I mean, this thread is still out there if you guys want to get in on it. Like James Gunn. Oh, and then one of the, I think James Gunn is responding to some of the comments depending on of course, what he wants to interact with. People were
Yeah.
asking what he thinks about the new character designs, the crests and logos, and just the look of these characters. Speaking of which, let's just let's switch gears. Let's talk about that. I
Yeah.
don't. There's not a ton to
Although
that conversation outside
I
of
did want to mention real quick before we move on, one of my favorite things that James Gunn mentioned where somebody was responding to the Chacos thing. Somebody was like, so are Chacos going to be canon to the DCU? He's like, they're canon in my belly. And I'm like, that's very cute. I love that. Anyway, sorry, but
it
I
is.
thought I needed to
It's right there.
there it is. They're
The
canon
cannon
in
in
my
my
belly.
belly. Perfect. I love it.
Perfect.
I mean, I'd love for them to be canon in my belly. It looks like they exist somewhere. They might as well like sell them because people are gonna, make sure those fly off the shelves like all those shirts did for Superman. But yeah, let's keep going here. So, John, there's this thing called Absolute Trinity that DC is doing.
Yes.
Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman. You've got new looks.
Yeah.
And from what I could tell, people were intrigued by what they saw of both Superman and Wonder Woman, but they were really not so intrigued by what they saw of Batman in particular. So let's
Batman.
just go through it one by one. Um, the Batman on the left, this is from DC Film News on Threads. Batman on the far left, you got Wonder Woman down
What
the center,
the
and
fuck
Superman on
is
the right.
that? I'm sorry.
I
That
know
is
it just.
the top comment is bat brick. I'm like, yeah, I agree. It looks like a brick. Somebody said that's not even a bat anymore. It's not. It's literally just somebody took a rectangle, put some points on it, and then that's it. Like, really? I understand, like, there was some hate for the Fat Man logo for Batman versus Superman, but I'm like, at least that kind of looked like a bat. This just they didn't even fucking try with this. Like, not even fucking close. But
It's
it just, and I don't like the design of Batman. It just looks weird. Like he's like way too muscly. Like, I understand like art is subjective, and like for instance, I know a lot of people love like Tim Sale's art. I'm not the biggest fan of Tim Sale's art. Like, it's still very good, but I'm just like, and I will say I don't like Jack Kirby's art that much either. I know like Jack Kirby, oh my god, legend Jack Kirby. I don't like I'm just gonna say this: the way he draws people, they look like Mongols. They look like fucking like Mongoloids. They just don't. It looks like they all have like tumors. They just like they look like a tumor of a human being, and it just looks weird to me. So it just looks fucking off. Like when he draws like things like Dark Side and Mongol, what I was like trying to the character of Mongol, not like Mongolians. I was talking about the character of Mongol.
Right.
I couldn't think of Dark Side. Anyway, so Dark Side Mongol, when he draws those guys, when Jack Kirby draws those, like they look really good, but when he's just drawing like Thor and Captain America, I don't like the way it looks. But I know that's subjective. But like I saw pictures of Absolute Batman, and it just looks like he just looks like a tumor. He just looks like he took way too many steroids, but like in a bad way. And it's just like, ugh, really?
It's a little too absolute for my liking.
Brother,
it's just a little too much. It's a little too much. I mean, and then you got the Superman, and then of course at a time when we keep arguing about
Jim Lee, what the fuck happened to you? Like, this guy is charging like $4,000 an autograph, and this is the garbage he draws. Like, God, it just goes to show like actual talent means nothing anymore as long as you have that name. Oh, it's Jim Lee, so you're gonna fucking pay for it, you fucking cretins. Yet they just look terrible. Like, what the fuck?
They look like he looks like Dragon Ball Z, like Goku almost in this.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that's what they're trying to aim for, because they're like, oh, we're trying to fucking do we're trying to do like, more anime stuff because people are into the anime. How do you do, fellow kids? So it's like I get if they're trying to do that, but like that just looks terrible. So I mean, I will say the Matteo Scalera and the Wes Craig and the other ones, they look pretty good. Yeah, like that. What is that? What the fuck is that? That's just first of all, she took Cloud's sword from Final Fantasy. First off, that is Cloud's. You better fucking return it to him, Wonder Woman. God damn it. First off, second, and then she just looks like a tumor. Like, I can't, like, there's no other way I can like talk about it. It just looks
that's a little mean,
terrible.
But it's very. I mean, if they're really embracing the whole idea of it's absolute, like it's going as hardcore. This is very much like if Zack Snyder got a hold of it. Again, not putting
that's not a fucking good thing, though.
I'm just saying. Like, I do like some. I think the Wonder Woman looks are probably my favorite. I think what you see here is giving me a lot of ideas for like what direction DC can go in with the new, the DCU look for Wonder Woman. And it feels essential Wonder Woman, and yet it's evolving the design in several different ways. And these alternate variant covers are like, giving me the choices that I feel like, okay, so you can easily see Wonder Woman evolving across the different looks over the course of a movie trilogy, a series of films. It's but it is very hardcore. Like, it's very like absolute, which is if not anything else, it's
to be fair, DC has been trying to make like their own Marvel Ultimates line for like the longest time. The All-Star line was supposed to be like their version of the Ultimate. That fell through because you had All-Star Superman, and then you had All-Star Batman and Robin, and then that was the end of that, and everything else was canceled. And then I think there was like a couple other attempts, and now we're doing like the Absolute line, which I feel like is trying so hard to cater to like the Zack Snyder crowd. It's like, hey, look, we're doing like dark, edgy crap that you guys like. Here, please buy our books. Because that's what it just feels like. It's just they're trying too hard. And like, no disrespect to the writers or anything like that. It just looks... I feel like we've done this song and dance before, and I feel like I remember reading the descriptions. I think Batman he's just poor now, which is just Darren Aronofsky's Batman, and that's the last thing I would want to see adapted. And then I think Superman like adapts the fucking, what is it, the I think Batman adapts like, or the Superman one like adapts like JJ Abrams like Superman thing, and it was it just brother. So, you know, and I will say Wonder Woman looks pretty good. Her logo, and I will say Superman's logo looks really good. I like the smoothness of it. I like how it doesn't have like the little edges. Like it feels different. It feels the same but different. I like that. Wonder Woman looks, again, it kind of looks like a little bit too fat. Like if it was like trimmed a tiny bit, it would look a little bit better. But I like the silver. I always thought Wonder Woman looked better depending on the design. I prefer the silver to the gold, but sometimes gold looks a lot better. Like for Linda Carter when she had like the eagle on her chest, that's when the gold looks really good. But if it's just like the Wonder Woman like logo, the W's, I think silver looks better, but that's just my opinion. And I do like her look the most. Like I think the tattoos look kind of cool, but again, it's like again a little bit trying too hard. Like, ooh, look, she has tattoos. She has a giant anime sword. She's like doing all this cool stuff. Isn't she so cool now? And it's just that's like the vibe it's kind of giving off for me. And I'm like, I mean, it's fine, but like I'm not going to be reading them. So, you know, but if you're going to read them, cool. I'm not.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, you know what? Speaking of Wonder Woman, we got to get to our main story of the day, which is, of course, we want to fan cast Wonder Woman. We used to do this thing very, often, but I think we sort of fell off because we were like, well, we kind of fan casted all the projects that were announced, but we haven't really done a fan casting for, the Princess of Themyscira. So here we are. We're talking about Wonder Woman, John. So my question to you is like, who's your favorite bet for playing the character of Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good candidates. Preferably, I will give like kind of honorable mentions to like a couple of them first. First, I do want to say Gal Gadot. I wouldn't mind seeing her return. Like I wouldn't mind. Like I think she's like, at a good age. She's kind of at a point in her career where she's like kind of doing some good stuff, but like isn't like totally far beyond. Oh, I'm never gonna go back to comic book movies. So I would like to, give Gal Gadot another chance because Wonder Woman was like the first DCEU movie that was like actually good, so that was universally liked. So it's like, oh, okay, great. Maybe the DCEU has potential, and then they released Justice League, and it's like, oh, never mind. So I do think Wonder Woman was, a great movie, and I think Gal Gadot did do a pretty good job. I'm not going to act like she's the best actress ever, but I feel like she did do a lot right with the character. So I want to give her a shout out. I also want to give a bit of a shout out, a little bit of an honorable mention to Adrienne Palicki. She was Wonder Woman in this like god awful TV movie in 2011.
Most people don't even know it exists.
Hey, you know who else? Hey, you know who else was in that terrible TV movie? It was supposed to be a TV show. It was supposed to be I believe Richard E. Kelly was the showrunner, and it was supposed to be a Wonder Woman TV show. You know who else was in that? Pedro Pascal. And look what happened to him. He eventually became Maxwell Lord. Not a good Maxwell Lord, and the movie was kind of crap, but he still came out. So I think Adrienne Palicki deserves another chance because she's a great fighter. I think she has the look down. I think she's like in a better place in her career now, and I think like she has the build for it where she's not like too big, but like big enough. And yeah, so I want to give honorable mentions to Gal and Adrienne because I think they could do a good job if they return to the role and do something different, but also like sticking true to like what they had before. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, the Watcher, you can feel free to rant if you like. Speaking of which, I think he's referring to. By the way, Sophia Matson, I think would be a great pick.
Yeah.
She has the physicality. Again, it will depend on how she fits into the role. So Hunter,
I don't know who that is, so I'll take your word for
it. Yeah, but Hunter specifically, actually not Hunter, the Watcher specifically is referring to Emma Darcy, which I think for me, this is somebody who has come up several times throughout the week as potentially, somebody we can cast into the world of DC and the world of the Amazons. And I think when you look at it and you think about it, she's got 2 more seasons of the House of the Dragon, and then that show is done. Like that show is only gonna last 4 seasons.
They're just doing 4 seasons and that's
4 seasons. They announced that it's 4 seasons. It's gonna be over. They're gonna have the story that they wanted to tell, told in that time. And she's an up and coming star. She's of course in what, quite frankly, is the biggest show on television when it's airing, in House of the Dragon, and I think she can pull it off. She's got the jawline, she's got the physique, she's got the acting.
The thing is,
like, what else do you
need? I can't take them seriously with the terrible blonde wig, so I would have to see their normal hair to maybe like take them a bit more seriously. It's just like all the wigs just look terrible in this show, and it just looks so bad.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, I haven't seen them in anything, so I don't know if they would do a good job or not. I think like again, like the blonde thing is like very distracting, so I can't see anything beyond that. But I'm sure they would do a good job. I don't know. The thing is, same with Millie Alcock. I was saying this the other day. Same with Millie Alcock. I want to give them a chance. I want to, it would be really like interesting for, Wonder Woman, like the actress, to be non-binary and all that, like have like representation, all that, because Wonder Woman kind of is kind of like a bit of a not a strange character, but like sort of a character that's kind of like a blank. Like you can do like that because technically they're not human. So like, not saying, okay, that's going to come out wrong. I'm not saying non-binary people are not human, but I'm just talking about the character of Wonder Woman. Is like she's either a demigod like or made of clay. And I feel like there's more of like a spectrum of stuff you can do with Wonder Woman. Like she's like Wonder Woman, like they brought in I see so many Hispanic actresses as Wonder Woman, which is, I think that's interesting. Gal Gadot is like Mediterranean and all this other stuff. So I feel like there's so many, and then you have like the white, like super white people, and then you have like gay, lesbian, like you have. I feel there is like I feel like Superman and Batman are very specific when it comes to, you gotta have a strong looking white dude, and that's the character. And I feel like you can't mess. Wonder Woman is more loosey goosey, so I feel like I think a good spectrum of actresses could be good, and I think Emma Darcy could actually fit into that, and I think they would do a good job in that respect. I want to say that they would be good, because I don't want to like immediately be like, I can't say yes, I can't say no, but I want to believe, like, with how many people are loving this show, they're saying that they are really good, so I'll trust that. Like, my sister loves the show, my dad loves the show. I trust them. They think Emma Darcy is a very good actress, so I will give them that. So they're not one of my personal picks, but I did want to shout them out. I don't know who Lauren LaVara is, but I'm sure they would be good too. But yeah. So Emma Darcy, I'm kind of indifferent on if they were cast. If they were cast tomorrow, I'd be like, let's see what she can do. But if they're not cast, I'm not too sad about it either. So I think they would be good. I don't think they would be the worst thing ever. I wouldn't go on a Tom King level rant or anything like that. I think they would be fine. I do agree. I forget who. I don't know if it was JB or J Kells. I forget who said it. I think it was J Kells in the comments yesterday, where they were like, Allura Zorel, Allura NZ, however that you go with the character. I think that would be a waste, because she's they're such a big up and comer that I think that would be kind of, it would be funny, it would be meta, but I think that would put them in like a smaller box when they're literally the head of this huge show that's part of this huge franchise. So I think that's I think they deserve a bigger role, like Wonder Woman, or even another character. I wouldn't mind seeing them as another character, whatever, James Gunn wants to go for, or whoever is directing that movie or show. Yeah. I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me the age profile would fit. Again, the acting resume is there. As far as like, even when Gal Gadot was cast, people were like, "Oh, can she actually like fill out her frame to be this strongest woman in all of DC kind of thing?" Like I'm like, hey, like clearly when we saw her in Wonder Woman, we're like, okay, yes, Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. Like she looks the part. She was able to do a lot of the fight sequences, and I think her, as far as her acting abilities, improved quite significantly from where she started. And I thought Gal Gadot was a pretty good Wonder Woman to the point where I think she still, if you ask her, she might still be like, you know what, James Gunn last told me we're still gonna work with you, so she's under the impression she might be coming back. But if they did go with Emma Darcy, I think that would be a good pick. I personally think would be a good pick. But John, you have other picks in mind. So where do you want to
I
start?
do.
You sent me a few that you want to go over. So let's dive into those.
Yeah, I think I this is a casting that I feel like a lot of people have made, and it's one I actually agree with, rather than Jensen Ackles and Alan Ritchson as Batman or all these other people. I do think that this would be a good choice. Somebody mentioned it in the comics. In the comments, Adria Arjona I think would be a very good choice for the role. I saw her way before she made a hit. I know she was in Andor. She was in she was
She was
in
in that Godzilla versus Kong
Hitman.
movie, right? Like Godzilla King of the
Yeah.
Monsters. She was in that
Yeah, she
one.
was in one of the Godzilla movies. She was in I think or was that Isaac Gonzalez?
No,
I
no,
don't
no.
remember.
She. So she was in it. Pacific Rim Uprising. I think
Oof.
Yeah, she might be. Yeah, she's done a few of those, high profile movies
She's
that are not
done
necessarily the
quite
most.
a few blockbusters, and I do
Yeah,
think
blockbusters.
and I think that she would do a really good job. I haven't seen a ton from her, and boom, there we go. Perfect, right there. There we go. Put it in the books. Put it in the
It's
books.
done. It's done. They walked the
Um,
red carpet together. This is it. James Gunn knows her.
but yeah, she was in Belko Experiment, which was produced by James Gunn. So there is a little bit there. There's a little bit of hope, guys, and he does like to, use the same type of people. Maybe I don't know, but I do think she has the look. She has the acting ability. I think she is a bit too like all the other actresses I have are much older, because I feel like that's what they would want to do. They would want to, have a Batman who's more of a veteran, and I think that would kind of goes hand to hand with Wonder Woman. I know she's in Amazon. I know she, it doesn't really matter about her age and all that, but I feel like having, and I was saying this yesterday, like someone to actually have that look to like match their experience is helpful for a visual medium, Like, even though we know that this Wonder Woman is like thousands of years old, and but the fact that she's had the experience for like 10 years, it'd be like, okay, let's have someone of that age. That's just me personally. I know people will be like, what are you talking about? But that's just me personally. I don't know who that is. But I do agree that a lot of people, Adria Arjona, I think she's done like a lot of like crazy, like she could do like the sexy like vibe character. Like from what in the trailers of Blink Twice, she kind of has that naivety of like maybe like a younger Wonder Woman. Like that just looks like Diana Prince in disguise, like Gal Gadot was in the
From
first
that
Wonder Woman
first
movie.
one, yeah. First Wonder Woman, yeah.
At which borrowed from Linda Carter as well, like with the glasses and the long robe. That's her from Good Omens. That's what I saw her from. And that's what I was going to bring up next. She plays kind of like a mystical kind of character there. She's still human, but she plays like a witch. And so I think she gets like the whole like otherworldly vibe. And because the thing is, I think she, has nailed every part that I feel like you have with Wonder Woman. I think she can be sex. I'm sorry, I know people are like scared of the word sex and sexy, and I know in this day and age people are afraid for women to actually look attractive. I know that's like, oh my god, women can be attractive. That's so scary. But like that's part of Wonder Woman's character. Like she's a literal Amazon. She was like designed to be beautiful. Like that's like the whole thing. Um so you would have that. You have the smarts. Um of like someone who's been around for thousands of years, like that awareness. And I think that she would definitely do that right. And then like kind of like being aware of like more magic, mystical stuff, because she was kind of that in Good Omens. So I think she nails a lot of aspects. And but the thing I would love to see, and the thing I haven't seen from her, but I think she could nail, is like the compassion, because that's uh somebody has not seen that many women. Anyway, everyone's
Dude,
there's a
come
lot of people
on.
that are
Are you
attractive,
okay?
a
Fine,
lot of people
fine.
that are
I'm just
bro, like I
okay.
can't say shit. I'm
Okay.
like I'm ugly as fuck. I'm just saying, but that's never the case. Anyway,
Okay,
um
John.
but yeah, try to convince me that Eileen Warnos is attractive. All right, just get out of here with that. Anyway,
All right,
um
let's be honest.
but she has blockbuster quality. I think she has a lot of stuff. I think Arjona is definitely a really good pick, and she has Star Wars under her belt. She has a lot of like smaller stuff under her belt. She's done like blockbusters, indie stuff. And as I was mentioning before I was rudely cut off, is that I would love to see the thing that I need to see that I think Gal did very well, and is like the compassionate loving side, because that's what a lot of people I feel like seem to forget about Wonder Woman, is like she's like the, if you know, Superman's the beacon of hope, and like Batman is like the beacon of like humanity, or like the beacon of night, darkness, whatever you want to, depending on the character. She's the beacon of love. Like Wonder Woman is supposed to be about love and compassion. She only fights, and she is only part of war as a last resort when she needs to be. The whole Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. Um but but that is something I think she could nail. I haven't seen her from it, but I think she can nail it, because that's something that you need to have with Wonder Woman. Like you need to have that love that she has for the people around her, for humanity. And not saying like the other characters don't have it, but like that is a big character trait that I feel like tons of people forget about now, and I would love to see that from Monroe. I think Arjona could do that very well. And she's only my first pick, but I do agree that she's the most popular pick. I'm not saying she will be fan cast, but that's the most. I mean, to be fair, David Corn Sweat was the most popular for Superman, and look what happened. So there's more of a chance, but
Yeah.
I would love to see.
Well, we've got more to get into. So, what is your next pick? Because I mean, I think Arjuna would be great, but you've got lots more. Let's see
I've got
what other
lots
options
more.
we have.
As I said, all the other picks I have, late 30s, early 40s, as opposed to Arjona, who's in her early 30s. But the next one is also another big pick, and someone who I do think now has another chance to be the role. I do think Jamie Alexander could do the role. She's 40 now, but she still looks great. She, has like that older experience that I think they're gonna go for someone in their like late 30s, early 40s. I just feel like that makes sense with like the vibe we're getting from the DCU. So I do think Jamie Alexander has been fan cast a lot. She was fan cast like when the DCEU was starting. So I think Alexander does have another chance for the role, and I do think she would fit into more of what they want now. And I know, like, she again, Lady Sif is pretty much, who gives a fuck about Lady Sif anymore? So like, that role was pretty much one long audition for Wonder Woman, I feel. So, she's, again, she was part of Marvel, mythological franchise, mythological part of the franchise, um, and got the acting ability, got the look, got the fighting skills. As I was saying with Arjona, she's got everything. It's just the things that I would like to see is, again, more of the compassion side and all that. And we didn't really see that from Lady Sif that much, but I do think Jamie Alexander could definitely nail it. She is a very good actress, and so I was saying, Lady Sif felt like one big audition, and I know she's done other stuff in the past that has given her more of a range, I guess. Um, And I would love to see it. Like, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. Do you think she's 40? Do you think she's too old? She's kind of aged out of it, or do you think that that would fit into more of what James Gunn wants for this iteration of the character?
I think Jamie Alexander would still work as a great Wonder Woman. You know, like she I don't I mean the age is, to me, age is but a number. Like she, like in Hollywood you gotta look the part. Right? Like nobody's gonna be like, oh well, like what is your actual biological age? Like, we don't,
Right.
that doesn't matter so much. As somebody who's done some castings for projects, I can tell you that, Jamie Alexander, if she were to walk in today, I would definitely consider her for the role. It would just depend on, again, like what the story that we are writing. And yeah, so yeah, we'll have to see, how it all fits together into the larger picture. But I would definitely not discount her whatsoever. I think she would be a great Wonder Woman. She's got the resume. She's got the pedigree of having played a similar character in the Marvel universe. So yeah, I think she could be a good one. She could be a
Yeah.
good pick for the role.
Because I don't think Lady Sif is like destined to, like, I don't know if Thor 5 is happening, and she wasn't in the last two of them, I don't think. Like, when did she lose her arm? Was that Thor Love and Thunder, or was that another movie? I forget.
I want to say that was before that.
I don't remember when
No, no,
she
no.
lost her
No, it
arm.
was. It was. I think it was Thor: Love and Thunder. No, no, you're right. It was Love and Thunder. It was Love and Thunder. Yeah, that's where it happened
Okay.
because they made a joke out of pretty
Yeah,
much everything. I
it
mean, I'm
showed that,
surprised they
like,
left her character alive after killing off
yeah,
every other.
it's because she wasn't in Thor Ragnarok. She had like no role in Thor Love and Thunder, so I think Lady Sif is just
Yeah,
kind of done. So it's like, fine. And I remember watching the first couple episodes of Blind Spot, and I remember that being, and that was one of those shows that's like, I really want to continue the show, and then I just never did. My dad watched it, and he's like, yeah, it's a really good show. I'm like, yeah, I should watch more of it, and then I just didn't. Oopsies. But then it got canceled,
yeah,
so oopsies. But yeah, I think she's done a lot in her career that would showcase she would be good, and I think the biggest proof is Lady Sif um in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And but she would have to do some things different because Wonder Woman is a different character. But I think that would be really awesome to show that, and having that pedigree, having the blockbuster prowess, having the look, having the feel, having been fan casted for the role for years, I think that would be awesome. Um,
yeah.
that
Well,
I
let's
wouldn't
see.
mind. I do want to see a more muscular Wonder Woman. Obviously not like insane bodybuilder type, but I do want to see a bigger Wonder Woman. I Because, like, as much as I really liked Gal Gadot, she was like, even with muscles, she was a little bit too thin for my, again, because I'm looking at like what I want to see is like the picturesque Alex Ross kind of look to it. So that's what I kind of have in mind. But even then, like, that's like very unrealistic. So unless you got a bodybuilder who can't fucking act, so I'd prefer to have an actress who can act rather than a bodybuilder who is just like, "Hello, I am Wonder Woman." Raw, like, that's not interesting. So, but that leads me to my next choice. She's a little bit younger than 40. She's 38, and that would be, I'm going to butcher her name. I greatly apologize. It's Marie Avgeropoulos. Um, yeah, this one is not a personal, like Jamie Alexander and Andrea Girona. Those are big fan castings, and I just agree with those. Marie Avgeropoulos. Again, I apologize if I'm butchering her name. It's Greek, but that was like a big thing. She's Greek Canadian. So that's a big thing. Like, I would prefer a Greek actress or someone of Greek descent. Because it's a Greek character, so it makes sense, right? She's not that big of an actress. The biggest thing she's done was like the 100 and like a couple other things.
Yeah,
She isn't a big actress, but the reason I liked this and was because I was gonna say this as an honorable mention, but I'll just mention it now. I would prefer to see a rather unknown or newcomer in the role of Wonder Woman, because I feel like what they're gonna do, David Cornsweet he's like kind of sort of a little bit known, but he's a relative newcomer. And then I think Batman is where you're going to have your A-lister, because it's Batman. You DC Comics, it's not AC Comics, right? So got to have big A-lister as Batman, whether that's your Alan Richson or preferably Jake Gyllenhaal or something like that. I think you're going to have your big A-lister as Batman, because that's the guy. Because it's like, okay, if Superman kind of fails, then you can bring the people back in with Batman and have like a big star. So I think that's where like the big star power is going to be. So I think they can get away with a smaller actress like her, like Marie. So, and she's done some actiony stuff. I know CW is kind of shit on, and that's fair. CW doesn't really have a lot of great stuff, but she's done a lot of action work on this show. I've heard The 100 is a good show despite being, CW. But I do think someone like this would be good. I'm not familiar with her work. I haven't seen anything she's done, but this was kind of like a poster child for like what I would want to see, like a Greek actress, someone of Greek descent, and then someone who's a relative unknown / newcomer. Not newcomer, but someone who just isn't well known. She's not totally unknown, and she's not a newcomer, but like relatively unknown. So, and I've seen her fan cast in a couple things. So as Wonder Woman. So yeah, someone like this I think could be good. I don't really have a ton to say about her, unfortunately, because she's not a personal, super personal fan casting of mine, but like just throwing it out there, I've seen her fan cast and I think she could be good. I don't know if you have. I don't know if you have I don't know if you have a reference for her, unlike me. But sorry,
I did see the show. So I am familiar with her. But yeah, I mean, what I worry about is like you put them next to each other. Like I'm sure Zack Snyder thought about like when he was going to have that Trinity shot in Batman versus Superman, if they were going to all work, So like, how does that look visually? Which I'm not saying, again, you can fake height in the movie. That's not something that you would want to like base your decision on. And I think like as far as her Greek descent, I think again you're fitting the representation part of it into it, but it will ultimately depend on again what she brings to the table as an actress. I know there were several actors in the 100 that have gone on to do much bigger roles. So it's definitely like I don't say like, oh, they were in the 100 as a disqualifying factor. But yeah, I mean, let's keep the ball going, John. Like you've got a few more choices here. Of course, we've already talked about Gal Gadot, Emma Darcy, Adria Arjona. Who's next?
So I do have these are also personal of mine because I do like these actresses, but they're more like picturesque and less having to do with diversity. And I know people care about diversity, which is fine. It's just like when I saw these actresses, I'm like, yes, I could see them. Katie McGrath, fortunately, she's Irish and pale as a ghost, and not exactly Greek, not what I would personally want to see, but it's just like, I think she would be kind of perfect. Like she has the look down. She has, again, some superhero pedigree. She was on Supergirl, not the best pedigree, but it's something. And, she's been in a lot of TV and been in a lot of movies that I think, playing very strong female characters. And I think like kind of that no nonsense. Like she had like
Merlin on Sci-Fi.
Yes, yeah. Merlin. That was, I'm like, was it Grimm? No, it was Merlin. Yes, you're right. But yes, yeah. Merlin was. I heard I think she was like Guinevere or something like that on that show. I heard she was good on that. And that's what I think. Actually, speaking of, wait, go back a bit. Odette Annable could also do a really good job. She could also be a very good Wonder Woman. I kind of forgot about her. Yes, that's another honorable mention. I am like, wait a minute. She played a Kryptonian on the show, so she's had superpowers on that show. So she would be an honorable mention. But Katie McGrath, I think, going back to Katie McGrath, I do think she would be great. Because the thing is, what I liked about her character on Supergirl, again, I know not the best show, but she was great as Lena Luthor. She had such immense power behind her, despite having no power at all. Like, she had like a bit of like the ego of Lex Luthor, but like not in a bad, like kind of like the vice versa
But she was
of
Lex
her
Luthor's
brother.
sister in the show,
Yes,
so I mean, it makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's that's what I'm saying. Like he had the ego and he used it for bad. She has the ego, but she uses it for good. That's what I loved about like her character is like she was clearly a Luthor, but she didn't like use it for, the worst parts of herself. And the thing is,
right.
even though she had like no power, it felt like she did. Like she wasn't gonna like, you know, have people fuck with her, take advantage of her, walk all over her type of shit. And she wasn't going to let that, her lineage define her. Like, I might be a Luthor, but I'm not going to let my family name taint this. So I feel like being able to convey that power without having any, imagine what she would do when she does have that power, when she does have the powers of an Amazonian in as Wonder Woman. I think that would be fucking great. So I think she has the look. I think she has that ability to, that charisma to convey those proper emotions. And I feel like her relationship with Supergirl, Kara, she, it like she like it showed the compassion she could have. I know it was like dicey in later seasons, but I feel like she could definitely show that as well. And that's what I really liked about her. I know she's kind of a weirder choice, but I would like to see that from her because I think she could do a really good job. I don't know if maybe I'm alone on the hill on this, but I would like to. Here's the thing, though. Someone mentioned Isa Gonzalez. I'd like to see her as Catwoman. Isa Gonzalez, I think, would be better as Catwoman, but that's just my personal opinion. So, but that Kane McGrath
Yeah,
is my next choice. So, whether you agree or disagree, that is
yeah,
my next choice. So, what do you
yeah.
what do you think?
I think she'd be a good fit in terms of, again, like every reason you pointed out. I think she's kind of like been building up to this in a way. As far as how well she fits the comic book version of the character, again, there's a little bit of a gap there, but I don't see that as being like a reason to take her out of contention. And I think this
Mhm.
would be the highest profile role of her career. So yeah, I think she'd be a good pick. Honestly, I think so. Yeah.
Um,
Now we're
but
getting to like Ekin Su from Love Island, UK. Like good shot. I don't know if she can really do it, but and Eva Green, I think, is another actress being pointed out. Diana
oh,
Silvers.
well,
You
here's
guys
the
have
thing.
great
Again,
options.
I think Eva
Great,
Green
all
would be a
great
better
choices.
Catwoman. I think she would be a much better Catwoman. But honestly, Eva Green,
True.
fuck it, have her. Like Eva Green she has been described as a literal goddess. Fuck it, throw Eva Green in there too. She would be amazing. I know I think she's in her 50s at this point, but you know what? She still looks fucking impeccable. So
You
I
know what?
don't care.
I don't think she
Do it.
looks like she's in her 50s. I'm just,
No.
it's,
Yeah, I would say she
Elodie,
should stick with
yeah,
Marvel, personally. But yeah, I couldn't imagine her as
yeah.
Wonder Woman though. I think she's better as Electric Nachos. So I think, yeah. But Kaden McGrath is not my last choice. This last choice was probably my favorite for the role for the longest time. Um, but she kind of, is still stuck in this other role that people keep force feeding us, even though we don't want to see it. But I still think she needs to make that jump to DC because I think it would be a hell of a lot better, even though she just started a show on Netflix, which looks terrible. But I do genuinely believe that Haley Atwell would be a great Wonder Woman. I know she kind of follows into less of the, ethnic vibe that I think people want with a modern day Wonder Woman, but she's got the physique for it. She's like big and broad. And I think like Captain Carter again kind of follows into what Lena Luthor was with Katie McGrath is like she had a lot of power behind her despite having no power at all. And then how she is in real life just being this fun like kind of like bubbly character and as well as showcasing like this like immense love. So And then I think she was also good in a Christopher Robin, where she was like kind of like this done housewife, but it kind of works because she's like, I love my husband, but like he's also acting like a fucking crazy person. So like I feel like that like kind of worked as well. Like, and you know, she again has MCU pedigree. I think she has you know, she was part of Black Mirror, that sci-fi mythical sort of thing, and then she was exceptional as Agent Carter. Captain Carter just needs to fucking die. Like nobody cares about Captain Carter, so just make the jump too, and you should be a-okay. Haley Atwell, please be Wonder Woman. We would love to see it. I know a lot of people don't see that, but I think she would be fantastic for the role. Again, superhero physique. I think she's done compassionate stuff. She's done fighting stuff. She's done just so much in her career so far, even though she hasn't had the biggest roles. And then I forget what her show was. I think it was like Conviction or something like that. Yeah. Okay, cool. I was right. I wasn't even sure I was going to be right on that one. Where she kind of played a little bit of a dickbag. Like she was kind of like a spoiled brat on that show, but that could show like another part of Wonder Woman where she maybe like sees like the sins of man, and she's like, why are you guys acting like this? And kind of that sort of like what the Doctor has sometimes. I know I got to make a Doctor Who reference, but where he's like, he loves humanity, but it's also like, guys, why do you fucking keep destroying yourselves? I love you guys, but you guys are also fucking idiots. I feel like she could kind of like give off that vibe as well. So I don't know who they are, but I will trust you on that. But yeah, I would love Haley Atwell in the role. I know she's, I believe, the oldest person here. She's at 42. But honestly, just fuck it. I don't care how old she is. Just give me Haley Atwell as Wonder Woman. That would just be like, they already done goofed with, you know, her as Lara Croft. It's like, why couldn't we get a live action version of her as Lara Croft? Why does it have to be animated? And it's another like anime light show, and it looks kind of dumb and it looks kind of boring. So we'll see. But Haley Atwell's Wonder Woman is definitely probably my top pick. But I would say her and Adria Arjona would be probably the best. But yeah.
I mean, I think to me, by the way, Diana Silvers and Charlie Fraser would be good picks, but I think Haley Atwell is it. To me, like I'm convinced. I think she's got the look, she's got the physique, she's got the acting chop, she's got the pedigree. She knows what it's like to act in these big superhero franchises, what it feels like when you have to go through hours and hours of costume, hair, and makeup, and then go and basically, I don't know, like be hanging off wires or like on a pitchfork, doing stunts all day. I think she can really step into the role, and I mean, right now she's stepped into the Mission Impossible franchise, which is a big franchise into its own right. But she's gonna need to. I think that movie franchise probably goes a couple more movies before she can bow out. Plus, hey, Henry Cavill was still technically Superman while he was reloading his arms in Mission Impossible. So I'm sure Haley Atwell can do both. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. I think Diana Silvers, Charlie Chase, all great picks. We had Hunter Iggy suggesting earlier. Let me see what his pick was. He was suggesting Sophia Matson. There's a lot of good options out there. I think we can return to this topic again and like come up with a whole new list of like options even beyond what we talked about. And Lenny, John, I think Lenny is interested in finding you a partner for life. So she's happy to buy you a ticket to Ireland if you want to find your own Katie
McGrath. What?
But yes.
What?
I think you missed that comment, but yes, Lenny very much is ready to get you hitched. So yeah, she's
I'm just looking at the comments.
Or she's in your corner, I think, is the way to say that. But anyway, so speaking of great comments, we do always like to respond to your comments from previous episodes. So let's get into that. We do have a couple of comments to talk about, John. So while you center yourself back from recovering from that offer that Lenny just made you, let's talk about this comment from yesterday's show.
I have of course, to talk about.
Yeah, we were kind of speculating the idea of, which other Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy characters, or actors rather, might want to join the DCU. James Gunn has certainly hinted at the idea. We've already seen a few crossover. Sean Gunn, his brother, is already part of the DCU. So, Chris Pratt is the highest profile one of the bunch, and Hello BB6151 said, "In my opinion, Chris Pratt does not have the acting prowess to convince me he is anyone other than Star-Lord. The opinion stems from my belief that Pratt was just saying the lines and the character was basically him, goofy and annoying in a good way, then in a bad way. If Batista ends up in the DCU, I feel the exact same thing for the same reasons. They will not bring anything fresh to the DCU, in my opinion." Again, he did say, "in my opinion," so to each their own.
It's an opinion
John,
I don't
what do
agree
you think?
with, sir. Because I think Chris Pratt, he does have a little bit more acting prowess. It depends on the role. Like, I do think like Booster Gold kind of fits into the same vibe as Star-Lord. So by your logic, if he's just saying lines and the character is basically him and why that worked, well, same thing could be said for Booster Gold, because Booster Gold is a very similar character to Star-Lord, or at least the MCU version of Star-Lord. So that could work. So haha, joke's on you. But I think I just the Dave Bautista thing irked me a bit, because I think you know I think he's a way better actor than people give him credit for. Like, Knock at the Cabin really showcased to me, like, oh shit, this guy can actually fucking act. Like, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want him to just be Bane. Like, the dude literally lost all his muscle mass just so he could play more roles, because this dude is clearly taking his acting stuff like very seriously. So even because he definitely doesn't have the muscular stuff for Bane anymore, and he's probably a little bit too old, but I would love to see him in anything DC related, because I think he's just great. Like, he's just a great actor. So I definitely think that Dave Bautista could more than definitely play a role. That was the major thing I disagreed with, was, Dave Bautista, because I think he could definitely, because the Knock at the Cabin thing was the biggest thing, because it's like, even though he's this big guy covered in tattoos and all this stuff, like the way he talked, because he's a teacher in the movie, and the way he talks about like his experiences as a teacher, I'm like, I fucking believe that. Like, the mannerisms, the speech patterns, the cadence, I'm like, this dude clearly was showing how, like, he would act how a teacher would act. Like, that was like the big thing. And then he's also been in, like, higher brow movies like Dune and Blade Runner. So the guy clearly has made an impression on at least Denis Villeneuve and a lot of other directors, that he's been in like better projects than someone like John Cena or The Rock. And even though I like each of them for their respective stuff, Dave Bautista is easily the best wrestler turned actor, most definitely. So that was the thing I disagreed with. I could see Chris Pratt maybe as like a guy who kind of plays the same role over and over again. But I mean, if Ryan Reynolds could make a career out of it, why can't Chris Pratt? So, I think yeah, I gotta I just think that that's kind of wrong. So, at least in my opinion, I hate to, crap on people, but in my humble opinion, I think Chris Pratt could do, I think he could do Booster Gold. I think he can do I think, and then I think Dave Bautista can't do Bane anymore, but I think he could do anything his heart desires, because the dude has the ability to. So yeah, fuck you. No, I'm kidding. So Halo, that's an interesting take. I disagree with it. I think I've seen more from both of those actors that make me believe that. I think Zoe Saldana is a little bit too old for Jessica Cruz. I want someone who's a little younger, maybe like mid to late 20s, or someone who looks mid to late 20s. My pick is Diane Guerrero. I think she already played the part in animated form, so I think she could play the part in live action form. But Zoe Saldana, I think, would be better as more like a, just kind of fit into the vibe of a mercenary character, because that's kind of what Gamora was. I can't see her as Wonder Woman. I know she was considered for Lois Lane in Man of Steel, so I don't feel like doing the Bane voice. I don't feel like it. I'm sorry. I don't feel like doing it. But yeah, I think Yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts on Dave Bautista, because I know Chris Pratt gets a lot of shit. He has the hate boner, but like Dave Bautista's fucking great. Like that's the thing that was like, wow, really? Dave Bautista,
I'll
that's
say
crazy.
this today, as of today, of like the trinity of wrestlers that have made it big, John Cena, The Rock, Batista. I think Batista is the best actor. Like,
Yep.
there's no, I don't think it's close. Like, he is the best actor. He's got the most range, and unfortunately, he hasn't had the highest profile projects of the bunch yet. But the what he's gotten, he's made more out of than anybody else. So I can't wait to see him. Whether he's Ra's al Ghul, Vandal Savage, I think those are all great options. Whether he is Bane, I think and even if John's voice is better for Bane than Batista's voice, I can't wait to see Batista, play a character in
Rachel
James Bond's
could be
world.
interesting.
The two of them are the best of friends, so I'm sure he will make it in there somewhere. But there's another comment we're gonna get into before we wrap up the show. This one goes in the direction of Zack Snyder's Justice League. We cover all corners of DC. We're not just here to talk about the present and the future, but what's come before. So, Kazoo Rat, you are in the chat, I believe. So, I'm
your
glad
comment.
that you're watching while we discuss your comments. So this is the process. You guys leave your comments in the videos. If you're in the live chat, we will address them. We'll talk about it. So, Kazoo, you said I watched Che in the theater in 2008. That was 4 hours with 30-minute intermission. That's a long time. There's no way I'm sitting through Zack Snyder's Justice Cotton Candy movies, as you called it. Oh, aka Zack Snyder's Justice
League. I didn't
League
think Cotton Candy would be something Zack Snyder described, but it like kind of works because it's all fluff and no substance. Yeah. So like I can kind of see that. Not in Cotton Candy as like a fun thing, because Zack Snyder's movies aren't fun. They're dark and serious art films, man. So but like in terms of like the metaphor of like all fluff and nothing else, yeah, I could see them as cotton candy. So I have never seen Che, but that is, I think that was
sounds like a very.
I know that was Benicio del Toro played Che Guevara. I forget who directed it though. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Steven Soderbergh. That's what I thought. Thought it was Steven Soderbergh. So yeah. But yeah, Benicio del Toro was played Che Guevara in that film. I heard it was a great film. So, yeah. So he's like, no way I'm sitting through that shit. He's like, I sat through 4 hours of greatness. I'm not sitting through 4 hours of slop. Fuck that shit. It's like, it's not Seven Samurai. I know Zack Snyder tried to do Seven Samurai with Rebel Moon and it failed miserably, but just stick with the original and you should be A-okay, or at least Magnificent Seven. But in terms of long ass movies, like Seven Samurai is 3.5 hours long, yet it doesn't feel like it. This is 4 hours and it fucking feels like 10. So, but I agree with Kazoo Rat. You hit the nail on the head. Most definitely.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, Carl Urban as Zod would be fantastic. I think that would be an inspired casting.
I think that would be an inspired casting. Kazoo Rat was just like, yup. In the chat.
Well, it's Rebel Moon, by the way. I think, Lenny, good question.
I heard it was garbage.
Not a good movie. Another good. It's I don't know.
Did you watch both parts, or did you only watch the first part?
The first, I haven't had the time to check out the second.
That's probably a good thing.
We'll get to it eventually. It's just these movies are long, man. They're like, fuck, like they're just. I don't have time to sit through and watch the Bad Boys 4 movie again at home. Like I put it on the other day. I got through like half an hour and then I had to do some work. I'm like, there's these. And Zack Snyder's Justice League, the first time I watched it, it took me like 2.5 sittings to finish it. And as much as I love the movie compared to especially the 2017 version, I don't know. Like that's part of the reason why studios don't like to do this. Like these movies, you can't make them like more than 3 hours long. That's pushing it already. At 2.5 hours, most people don't like it's long. So 4 hours is a little too long. And I think Fiona making a great comment there. Yeah, a trans one would be fantastic. It would just depend on how you find the actor and whether they're a good fit for the script that you've written and the story you're trying to tell. So, and I'm sure it will be something that is a possibility, whether it's in the DCU now, in the future, or another character, whether it's one or a different character. And by the way, because you agree with you, Carl Urban is awesome. Would love to
yes, he
would
would be
love to see
great.
him in the
Once
DCU.
he's done killing Homelander, he can then go off and be General Zod.
Yeah. Well, guys, with that said, we seem to have switched sides here. I was started out on the left. I am on the right, and John. So with that, let's call it a show. We will be back. So much. Thank you so much for interacting with us today. All the comments, everything in the live chat. We could talk about a Wonder Woman fan casting all day long. And for all we know, James Gunn still plans to bring Gal Gadot back, which is possible, and I'd be all for it if it does happen. But we'll see how that goes. Ultimately, I think if they did go in the direction of Emma Darcy, I think she would make for a great pick. So that's my opinion again, whether it's Andrea or Jonah, Katie McGrath. I think Haley Atwell is it, if I'm being honest, that she's probably best. Oh, I don't know if I lost John on the audio there, but we'll.
I think I
call it a
lost
show
you
then.
on
How
the
about
audio.
that?
I didn't even hear you. You were kind of going in and out. I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my bad. Well, I was just saying. I think my favorite pick is Haley Atwell. I think she's probably the best.
Yeah.
Pick. I don't know. What did you think?
I would say Haley Atwell is probably my favorite, but I can see Adria Arjona. As I know that so many people were casting in the comments, and that's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to see all your guys' picks. It's just I have no reference. But the thing is, I don't want to totally shit on your guys' fan cast, but I'll trust you guys. I'm sure there's a lot of Wonder Woman fans. I don't know about a trans Wonder Woman because that would probably spark a lot of hate that James Gunn probably can't afford right now, unfortunately, because people are stupid. But that's the reality we have to unfortunately live with for the time being. So he probably doesn't want to take like that. I mean, people were pissed that like Perry White was black. Like, I don't think James Gunn can unfortunately take those kinds of chances, unfortunately. So, although that would be an interesting, if you have a good enough actress, boom, I'd be open to it. So yeah, I would say Haley Atwell is my personal favorite. I don't hate Agent Carter is a good show. I remember the first season was really good, and the second season was kind of dodgy because they didn't plan for a second season. But I meant Captain Carter as in like the super soldier instead of Steve Rogers thing. It's just like I feel like she was kind of cute for the What If episode, and then they just kind of kept shoving her in like the What If and then Multiverse of Madness, and it's like, okay, I don't really care, but I still love Haley Atwell, and I think she would be great. But that's my opinion. So I think they would all be really good.
Yeah. By the way, I think Lenny clarifying she wanted to get David an Irish wife, not John. So I guess we have clarified that. And then that bombshell, I think it's time to end the show. We will see you guys back here on Monday with another episode of DCU Daily, and then we'll have an Also Curious episode as well. We'll review more movies. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have done both of those things, then hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Until next time, John, we'll see you back here on DC Daily. Have a good weekend. Enjoy any and all DC movies, TV shows, whichever you are going to be up to watching, and then come back and talk to us about it. We'll see you on Monday.